If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. And bringing you, of course, more conversation to stimulate awareness of yourself, why you might be interacting and reacting to the world in a certain way, and of course, the dynamics between all of us as we're going through this human journey. So, Nirmala, what's on your mind today for us to kind of talk about?
Beautiful. Thank you, Daniel. All right. Just jumping into the topic, right? So we don't want to waste any moment of this. All right. So in the last 3 years, the type of cases, clients, the type of issues that came in front of me, it's more in relation to fear. Yes, but I don't think we are completely, all of us are out of that fear. We're still kind of molding into the fear. What's happening next? What's happening next? What's happening next is just going. And then we're trying to mold ourselves into our regular life, but still the question is still in the sphere. Okay, so it's still in the atmosphere, it's still working, and still people are questioning about it. Yeah. So in relations to that, okay, so I'm just going to bring in, I thought the best way to do it is there's several case studies, several clients. So I'm just going to bring in one particular case studies and then I'm going to talk about it. All right. So it could be in relation to how you're feeling at the moment or how you were feeling in the past. All right. So what are the options here that for you to now remove yourself and step out of it? Yeah. Okay, so are you okay with this, Danielle, if I were to do this?
I'm always excited for these conversations, yes. So I find myself in them and it just helps me understand and also like just have compassion for other people. You know, I think there's a lot that happens in this world, and the last 3 years, it's been crazy, Nirmala, with all the things that have kind of been pushed to the surface and we've all been forced to deal with and confront. So yeah, shed some light for us.
Okay. As just as how Daniel says, it's very interesting, and I have to bring this up. Okay, so when she says, it does been a bit of turmoil that has been happening in the last 3 years. In every point of view, in every level that you can think of, everything has struggled. From the ocean to the land to the mountain to the sky to the humans to the insects to the nature, everything has struggled. Okay. So you can understand how beautifully, I mean, I know that I'm not supposed to use beautiful, but it's a beautiful transition for humanity. Yeah. So we all went through the same process. The whole world was kind of in the same space, trying to, for once, to work together to find a solution.
Yeah.
We all did this together, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah. And there was a lot of awakening happened during that period of time. People have been awakened humans have been awakened for a very long period of time. But coming to the understanding that this is not the end, and this is not just us, we are more to it, is the awakening I'm talking about. Yes. Yeah. Having that interaction, that communication within yourself. So that has happened, and I enjoyed it. Yeah. I was in my worst scenario because I went through an accident just before that, and I was not mobile, and a lot of things were happening, but I still enjoyed what was happening around the world, because I was able to do my transition and understanding of acknowledging certain things and accepting it. Yeah, and acknowledging it but not accepting it. Sorry, I acknowledge it. I'm not going to accept that this is it. I want to see more of myself, so I move towards that path. And one of them, if I were to pick and choose one case studies I got right in front of me, is because these are all private and personal, so I'm not going to mention any names or any scenarios. Some of them I'm just going to exaggerate a little bit different to how it was given.
Well, Nirmala, yes. Before you dive into the case study, there's something you shared with me that I think would be important to talk about. The Fibonacci sequence. You told me that like there is a cycle that we go through, and that like we've gotten back to this single point. That's why there was so much turbulence and chaos and everything was struggling, because we got there, and then you wind back out, right? Is that my understanding? How you shared that?
Yes, beautiful. Now, Fibonacci sequence, and Daniel loved that whenever I say that word, Fibonacci sequence. Just give me a second. I'm just going to pull out something so that I'm on the same page with everyone when I'm explaining this. Just give me a second. Yeah.
I love it so much. That's why I put it in with the single truth. It's part of this, because it's the essence of everything. Like you get down to that single point and you build out a way again. and come back.
Yeah.
That natural flow.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay. Yes, you mentioned about the Fibonacci sequence. Okay, so are you able to see me clearly? I didn't
No, you're
move
fine.
any-
Whatever you did,
Okay.
it's still fine with me.
Knowing me with technology to do a lot of things. Okay, so what Daniel's talking about is the Fibonacci sequence. I love talking because I find that the Fibonacci sequence is in play. For me, as I say, geometry is a light language, so it's like you are seeing the reset happening within the earth, within the universe. So let's start from the universe. Now the universe has come into this space, and the earth is now coming into this space, and then it's making arrangement adjustments to everything around it, even around it, right? So even the earth has shifted. Yeah, so everybody says we are in the new earth. So the new earth presence has been happening for a few years even before all these things started happening. So in saying that, it's like a reset, right? So Fibonacci, again, I'm not a great artist, so just bear with me. So when you're looking at a Fibonacci sequence, right? So when in this space, okay, so there's one side of us that is doing, I always call this the microcosm, and this is the macrocosm. I mean, that's how I look at it, right? So this is my interpretation, right? So when you're looking at a Fibonacci sequence, you can see that this one is supposed to be a square, and this is supposed to be another square here. Yeah. So when you look at this, and then there's another smaller one here. Okay. You can see me clearly? Yeah. So the Fibonacci sequence is kind of starting from the smallest. Wait. I always, because I want to make sure that you are seeing it properly. So let me draw this properly. So because I'm so used to doing it this way, now for your this way. So I'm just trying to make sure that, so this way. All right.
Perfect.
Are y'all with me? It's
Yeah.
not the perfect, but it's not supposed to go out of this, but anyway. Okay, so this is the Fibonacci sequence, right? So we have some numbers in Fibonacci sequence that plays important. All our lives are part of this. Our universe is part of this. This is what we are, right? So this is what I saw during the period of, because in 2019 December, I had a very beautiful vision of this and the beings, and all these things started coming into perspective in the next few years, as all of us were aware of that what we went through from 2019 to, even up to right now, we're still going through that process. So for me, this is like a reset. Okay, so we went through this process of going through this and then climbing, going through every single space of this, not as an individual, but as humanity, as humans, right? So we went through the process and we went through this, and then we came here, right? The minute we came here, what happens? Because this is not going to stop. It's always a continuation. Fibonacci sequence is about a continuation. And then we are now going back again. I don't know where we are standing in which section right now, but we are going through the whole process again, repeating everything that we have touched, felt, seen, everything from history. They say that the history is repeating itself, but I find that the future is repeating itself as well at the same time. We are kind of traveling into time and space that without knowing, right? So now, since we are moving back, what we are doing, we are correcting. We are being corrected, and we are correcting as we are going. Not exactly in what the world is looking from the eyes of the world, but from the awakening aspect of that space, right? So we are shifting now, and we are moving into this space, and we are going back. And as we are going, we are now changing things. So this is the history, and this is also the future. So we are repeating ourselves. Humans, we are coming into this birth, and we are going in, coming out. We are going back in again. We are doing this. So this could be a single human life. It could be the earth life. It also can be the world as it is. So what I meant is that this repetition as a human, we take birth after birth, we do that, right? As earth, we go through this synchronicity and going through the same phase of renewing, resonation, and then we keep doing this again and again as things are changing. As a world, being in these humans, we do this together all the time, all right? So every time this happens, so we are kind of witnessing history, all right? We are witnessing history at this point of time. We are all being part of a collective consciousness doing this together, right? Now, in regards to, okay, this is Fibonacci sequence. So this is what I meant by Fibonacci sequence, right? So, but there's a huge meaning to Fibonacci sequence, and there's a learning on numerical, how all the numbers came in. So there's a big part of us that's happening as a world, as an earth by itself. And then there's a small part of us happening as a family in one part. And as an individual, we are here doing one part of ourselves. So what we do here, impact here, and also impact here. And what we do here also impact here, and impact us. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So it's the beautiful universal light that you're seeing right now over here. And this is the geometry of us. We all are an embodiment of the geometry. We are the geometry. All right. So if you were to come into my in my workshop, I'll be explaining more about the Fibonacci sequence in different levels and different ways that I separate them and I show them in numbers and colors and dates and also by in shapes, right? The way that I see it. Yeah. So we came here for our experience and we are going through that experience, and now we are going through the flow of the reset together with the earth, humanity, and the world. We are doing it together. So what are we learning from this experience is what we are here for. Yep. So as humans, we are also patterned, right? An authority says something, we just follow, and then we just go tick, 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 we are done, okay? But then we are now going to discomfort, we are always ticking things, but where are we going with all these things? We are questioning ourselves. And so what happens the minute we start questioning ourselves? There's a huge authority over there saying that if you don't do it, this is what we're going to squash you down, right? So it's like we are looking at something like somebody with what do you call that when you're trying to hit, try to catch a fly? Sorry?
Hammer or fly swatter or what?
Fly swatter, yeah. So, it's like somebody's having that, they'll squash you the minute you don't come into agreement with that. But that's not the actual truth, isn't it? Because they are there for their journey. You are here for your journey. Have you identified what your journey is? Yes. Have you ever questioned yourself why you are here? Why are you part of this huge thing that's happening right in front of you? Yeah. So, okay, I lost my duster, so I'm going to erase this all. So this is where I was. I wanted to bring about the case studies that was happening in the last few years, and everyone who was coming in front of me. The thing that I saw right in front of me was yeah. Yes. I don't know whether you're seeing it upside down or is it clear? I don't know.
No, okay. You got it in the right way.
So as you can see, this was the factor at that point of time. Every single one who came in front of me, everyone. The first thing I see is that, because when I see a geometry in a person, in an individual, it's not only going to be one geometry, as I said, that it's not going to be just octahedron or tetrahedron or it's not going to be like that, because a human is of all, right? So the one thing that I always see is, say for example, if they are a personality of a tetrahedron, All right. I saw a tetrahedron, and I also saw a tetrahedron. That was not connecting. Immediate for me, what I saw yesterday, today, the day before, last week, a month ago, same thing. Everybody doesn't want to go into this flow of this energy because of this. They are afraid to go into their center. So they separate their energy field. They separate their energy field. So that's what was in front of me. All right. So when somebody separate their energy field and saying that I cannot do this, this is too much, I'm angry and all that. So what is happening? Because they are not coming together. So what happens if they can't come in together? You're losing consciousness, CONSCIO, sorry, consciousness. All right. That means you are completely not engaging the consciousness, but you are now more evolving on your emotions that is not yours.
What do you mean by that?
When I see something like that, that means they are not evolving with their own emotions, but the worldly emotion. All right. So, okay. So, the worldly emotions. So when I say worldly emotions is that they all are now in fear. So when I say emotions, there's good and bad in emotions, right? So, Daniel, can you give me some of the emotions that you can think of that people went through at that point of time?
Oh, there was anger, there was frustration, there was loneliness, confusion.
Yep.
People were resentful. People felt hopeless. People felt, I mean, I know a lot of business owners, right? They were feeling like they were being forced to do things against their own will.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things that they because they're being pulled out from their comfort zone. Their known space is becoming uncomfortable. Yeah. Everything becomes so uncomfortable. So my question to them is that why are they not connecting? Because they're not connecting because it's not their issue. It's not their issue. Because at that very moment, we got roof over our head, we got food on the table, we got family around us. We are making decisions based on individuals as owning ourselves as an individual. So they tends to move around. Just imagine if this tetrahedron is so flat and then there's no tuning in the middle and all this started spinning, what will happen?
It would fly over.
Yeah. And when I see a spinning emotions in someone, I know that they have a huge mental issues, right? There's a lot of mental issues happening in that point of time. So this is what I'm seeing, so I'm explaining as it is, right? So in a geometry, a tetrahedron has got two elements, right? One is one you can look at it is a very, very strong fire element. A tetrahedron is about fire. So the first shooting when somebody emotionally attack them is anger, all right? Or just taking a gun and bullet. That's it. I'm shooting you. So that's how it is. That's the tetrahedron. Has got this strength of power within. At the same time, if you look at the other side of it, a tetrahedron has got a huge energy force that it can be a great influencer. Okay, so it can be a fire that can burn, or energy.
Yeah, that gives light.
Please, and light. Yeah. All right. So my question is, make a choice. Which one do you want to be? Which one is making you miserable? Yeah.
Well, but also, I mean, I know this is like maybe a case study. You're saying it was everybody. Like, were people aware that like they were picking up? Just seems like a confusing space to be in. If you're spinning around, if this is what you're seeing geometrically, I'm trying to feel the emotion of what this person is feeling, which is like little disoriented and just confused by the external world. So, I mean, how does that person move back in to get, that looking like a pyramid, right? That looking like, their true connected self. Like everyone got pushed into a very uncomfortable situation. And then it was like, no one knew what to do because never been there before. And the whole world didn't know what to do, So yeah, how do you to prepare people for the future, right? Because there's always going to be challenges. We're always going to get stuff thrown our way. Like, how do you keep yourself centered and not get like, I don't know, to me, this looks like you're getting pulled apart.
Yeah, that's what is happening. As you can see, it's being pulled apart. And I don't want this to go any further than that, because then I'm losing the grid of this person coming together. Because my session is about everything coming together, and I'm seeing a kaleidoscope here. The minute I see the kaleidoscope, I see all the functions of geometry going into this. That means now they're resonating from their heart space. The minute I see that, I say, my work is done for today. Yeah. Until they come back with other things, then I can see other things. So, but this explanation is just for the purpose of fear of what was happening around the world. Yeah. So they come in, they were doing this. Now, I have to correct the statement that it was the world's emotions that they took in and then they're coming in, because that was only 30%.
Okay.
That was only 30%. 70% of it was more based on their awakening process, because now they are in awakening. So what happened? They feel very disconnected. Yeah. They feel detached. They feel that something is not working within themselves, right? So it's more like they became too sensitive than what they used to do. Then I go a little bit more deeper. So then I have to pull out every geometry, pull it out, and say, all right, this geometry, let's see where is this settling in. Like the particular case studies that I'm talking about, it's that individual. He started losing connections and behavior, even his identity. All right. So he felt like something was really not right with what is happening, right? Because he was in a position where everybody was listening to him, and everything was kind of rolling under him. Everything was happening in his space. Yeah. So as far as I can see, so everything is related, because just now I wrote, how I showed you the Fibonacci sequence, the reset. You're going back, but now you're correcting, or you want to go into the same pattern. It's up to you, going through the same process, whether it's a choice you're going to make. So what has happened is that he went into there's a worldly emotions that's happening at that very same time, but him losing his job because there's no longer traveling was allowed. His job was almost like traveling in and out. Everything stopped, right? And everything stopped. They couldn't pay him because they said that they don't know how long this is going to go for. So there was financial situations and everything came in. So you can see when somebody is everything, they feel like they got no more control on their life. They're losing everything that they thought was possible is becoming impossible for them, or is not possible for them, right? So they're going into that. And then I went a little bit more deeper into each of the segments of their geometry, because it's not just looking at one geometry. The personality, I have to kind of how would I say, I have to, like somebody's in operation theater, I have to completely remove the body into different parts to see where is the clock is, where is the unlocking needs to be done, where's the clogging is, so that I can release it. So when I specifically went into this particular case, that client, all right, so when I removed it, he was completely having an issue, a huge battle with his ego. Not happening at that very moment of time. At that very moment of time, he's grieving because he can't go back to what he was. Sure. Okay. So you can see, because he was already struggling with ego, because don't forget, ego is the seed of the mind. Yeah. Right. So if what do you think you become? Yeah. So somehow or other, he was doing so well, he was moving up the ladder, and then every time it became, everything in his life was a competition. He was not looking at it as he was flowing, everything has got, there was gratefulness or gratitude or whatever it is. Because of the shuffling he had in his lifetime, the climbing and getting better job, better life, showing that he's great, his life is simple, his life is fantastic, is very important to him, not for himself. When I say ego, this is what I meant, because he was more on the surrounding and the environment matters the most for him. Now, what they think of him became so important to him. All right. And the ego was a huge play for him. So if he has came before all this mumbo jumbo was happening around the world, I would have only worked on this for him. And because he came, with that he carried, and then he went and fell into even doing this geometry. It was a huge job. It was a huge work that I had to now to focus on him, because he was not just thinking right, because he felt like something he has been deceived. He has been deceived. So when I asked him the question, so who has deceived you? He couldn't even say. He couldn't say. He just wanted to blame the whole world. He wanted to blame his company, his work, his partner, his parents. Everybody came into the picture. Yeah, because he felt deceived that he couldn't move up. So as I mentioned, what has happened is only 30% of the impact. What they're already holding was 70% in here that they didn't work from childhood. That means there was a lot of work they should have done within themselves that they didn't work. So together with this, and then it goes smashed together. What happens? Okay, this happens. Yep. So the self-disconnection and detachment, and he didn't know where to go and how to go. And because he always has struggled with inferior complexity, the ego is two things. We know it's inferior or superior. Yeah. One is hierarchy, like I'm there, you are here. The other one is I'm always here, you're always there. So probably he had a bit of exchange in that space. So he told me that he's always on the top. He's always done the best, and he's always the best of the best, right? So he have never allowed anybody to climb. He said the word, he never allowed anybody to climb. You see, so you can see that this child, this being, it's very sad to watch, because it's like he struggled so much in life, and then he pulled himself together to come to that, but he took a competition within himself that he has to be, that's normal human nature, that a lot of people do that. But so there was a lot of things that started working. So you have to go deeper within yourself to find out, okay, so is this the actual problem right now? Is there something else in my mind now? The mind is a beautiful thing, it will come in. Your story will be just like this. You will make it like that. Okay, so that's what the mind is capable of. All right. So you might see that crossing the bridge is shaking a little bit. I might fall, so I don't cross the bridge. Shall I or shall I not? Is your question. But the mind will say you if you cross, the bridge will open, you'll fall, and then you will knock your head against a brick or rock, or you'll be shuffled by the ocean, the water. It's incredible how the mind can go on when you want to interact with it. So there was a lot of things that was happening in his mind. So what I did with the session was more about bringing him by switching on the light within his heart. He's a very beautiful person, amazingly beautiful person, very compassionate person. Engaging him into another line of work, he will do amazingly well. But anyway, to keep the light glowing, you have to go within yourself. The connection has to be made. I have to see the kaleidoscope in here. That means you have to switch on that light. Once the light is switched on, you are going to this energy and blissful light state all the time, because you love it, you like it, so you want to jump into that all the time. So the mind is the speech, the thought is the word. Yep, I always, whenever I'm explaining about this, I always used to mention that. because the mind seeks replay, right? Like it loves the pleasure of repeating stuff, right? Even though it's nothing is over, finished with, comes in and repeat, right? It does a replay, you know. Either you completely stop the tape recorder or jam it completely so that it doesn't repeat certain things that's no longer necessary in your life, okay? So that's another huge topic. So I like to go back to the case study again. Okay, so the fear is in factor, and then we need to, he cannot move into consciousness because the fear is now made him weak. The mind has told him that he's weak now. There's no possibility for him. So what happens to a human when they go through that? In my geometry, as I can see the geometry, my job is to make sure the geometry are now linking back again, because the grid has to meet each other. That's when they start communicating, and that's when they start rolling together, making sure wherever you're bouncing, you are completely in balance in homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, physically, vitally, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we can scan ourselves, you know, if we can scan ourselves and kind of diagnose our own energy motives, we have conquered our mind.
Right.
Okay. Always be your own psychology, right? Yes, a situation is happening right now around the world. Yes, everybody's having a bit of fear moment. But it's not necessary for us to all jump in and say, hey, this is end of the world. This is what's happening. This is what we are going to do. It's not necessary.
Well, I think, oh, go ahead.
No, let me, yeah, sorry, you go on.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that the challenge is actually what causes us to have to look within, because if everything was just always flowing well, we would never have the moment to have to be forced to realize there's this stuff within us. Like, I think the last 3 years, so many people have had to face things that they didn't realize were maybe like this guy with his ego. Like, he didn't realize how it was sort of dominating his life and taking him in a certain direction. Like, without all the craziness of what happened, he would never have the chance to kind of address that. I think the way that I've kind of observed my own life is every time there is an obstacle, or even just a person or a situation, it doesn't have to be as big as, you know, the last few years, but it's this moment of self-reflection, like you just called it the scan. It's like going within and going, well, what in the world within me right now is not flowing with how things are unfolding, because everything should be a flow in life. And I think the thing that just resonated the most with me with what you said was that the whole point, like what you got him to and what we each have to just get ourselves to, is going to our heart and finding the light within our heart, because that then connects us back to the truth of who we are, connects us back with source. When we allow that connection to be there, it's like, I mean, you said this beautiful kaleidoscope. I just, you know, I don't see what you see, but I'm like, I know the feeling in my body when I'm in that heart space and I'm in that, you know, the space of bliss, the space of being surrounded by light, or allowing it to emanate, you know, from me. Everything in life just flows, you know, like, because like, I think the mind is quiet. You're connected with, you know, the truth of who you are. So I don't know, to me, it's like, it's all opportunity, right? That 30% of whatever's going on in the external world, it's like, okay, well, what's the stuff happening inside of me? And you don't really have to do much with it except just go, huh? Like, it's like you kind of just have to disidentify from it, right? And identify with the truth. Is that accurate?
Yeah, precisely. So everything you said, yeah. So it's more of leveraging to see how you're going to use everything that you have within, because you are provided with the tool. Everyone has to understand you are provided with the tool. You know, it's not that somebody's angry, you just jump in and you now want to get one-to-one with them. You know, it's not the way it's meant to work. Yeah. So you are provided with the tool. So you have to understand that your ego is in test right now, and you are now going to find the path, because the task is given to you, because a challenge won't come to you if you are not qualified for it. Let's put it that way. Okay, the challenges is right in front of you because you're qualified for it. Yeah. So this beautiful being that I'm talking about went through a bit of a process, right? So this is what I saw in him. So this is him, right? An octahedron by himself. So that's the individual, right? So that's the individual. And I have the other side of that is the world that we are living in, right? Or the earth, yeah, that we are living in, right? So the job of him now understanding is no longer separating the two, but bring the two together like this and going into the balanced state here. Individual and the world. And then you bring yourself into the center. And this is where you have to go. This is your point. And this is the Vesica Pisces. Okay, the Vesica Pisces. And I love when I see something like that. It's, because it's now you're identifying there's a lot of things happening within you as an individual, but you're always bringing yourself to the center. A lot of things happening around the world, but you're always bringing it to the center. Now, what is the resemblance of all these things? Your two eyes, what you're seeing, and the one in the center.
Oh, beautiful. Whoa.
Okay, so, and there's a lot of description, you can keep doing with this understanding, right? The world and yourself, you're not separate, you're together. And you finding the balance by entering the center. Yeah, the center of your heart. All right. So the minute you find that, you won't be interrupted by what's happening around the world. You won't be interrupted as an individual, what you're going through in your lifetime or what has happened in your life. You won't have interruption because you learn how to center yourself most of the time. So you go into that resonance space, finding that resonance space. Yeah. So this individual, when he came to me, my job was more on making him understand the world challenge chose him, or he chose the world to have the challenges. All right. So he came with an agreement. Yeah. I want to go through this. I want to go through that because I came here for a mission. So you came here for a mission, right? If not, everything will be taken away from you like that, right? So the challenges are right in front of you because you're qualified for it. You accepted it. You wanted the challenges to become who you really are. And he did ask me the questions, who am I? I said, what a beautiful word. I am. Now you have to go into not who you really are or who you are. It's about I am. This is where you're standing. The minute you understand I am, you come to that statement and you can understand that you are not interrupted, you're not moved, you're not shifted. What's happening on left or right, but you're always centered. There's no interruption. So when there's no interruption, you can see the path very clearly. Okay, this is happening, that is happening. I don't want to make, because a lot of individuals, what they did is that they never go into the center, they stayed here. And then they got angry with each other. They got angry with each other. I'm doing this and I find it right, and you have to do the same. Okay. And then the world in one side, when I say the world is a lot of things, is coming into a center because the world is within you. So you are not being an example to the world, but you became part of that group where it goes around saying, this is what I say is correct and this is what you need to do. All right. So, there's two sides. Where are we? We just make sure we position in the center. Yeah, we position within our heart. The Vesica Pisces is a beautiful geometry that it just gives me goosebumps whenever I talk about it. It's just that because when I see a Vesica Pisces, it's like it also talks about the feminine and masculine. All right, feminine and masculine, that they are all one. There's no feminine separate or masculine separate. We are all one. All right. So within me, there's a lot of masculine within me. I know that. Yeah. So I make sure that I use it because it's a gift for me. Yeah. And within a male, there's a lot of feminine. It's not that because it's a male, he's only got masculine. No such thing. They got more feminine than women, right? So there's a lot of beautiful things come from them, and there's a reason when they express emotions. It's so beautiful to watch. Yeah, yeah. From a female, it's very natural to see emotions, and but when it comes from a male, it's very beautiful to watch. So we are no feminine, we are no male, we are no you know, we're no female, no male. We are one. We are the light within.
Mhm.
All right. The minute we conquer that, we understand that there's no judgment, there's no opinions, there's nothing. All right. It's just individual journey. So I always observe and see where they're standing within their space. If I see that they're spending more on this, it's their journey. My job is only to explain and help them, assist them, but it's their decision whether they want to come to the center or want to stay here or stay there. It's all up to them.
Mhm.
Okay. So with this gentleman, he wanted to make all the changes. He just wanted to, because he says there's nothing is left in me right now if I don't make this choice right now. So, you know, what a beautiful, beautiful way the universe has helped him. Yeah. And he did very well. He did very well. He got a beautiful job. He's earning more than what he used to earn. And he's got, you know, he's very much settled and he's very passionate about his job now because this is what he's putting into practice day in, day out now. Right? But the survival game is a lot. We are put in for survival, but we have to remove the survival out of us because that's where I think the struggle comes in. When you're going into survival, that means we are saying that I have to struggle to get there. So what your mind, as I always say, what do you think you become? So every time you go into your mind, I have to struggle, I have to work hard, then only I can get there. You have to work hard because you already made up your mind that you're going to work hard to get there. Okay, so I'm not saying that hard work is not going to be there. What I'm saying is that you don't have to make everything look difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful journey we all are in. So if we can go and center ourselves and remove whatever that's no longer needed, just remove it. Remove. Easy done. Just remove it. Anything that doesn't resonate with your energy, you know, it's got its own journey, right? Without judgment, just remove it. You play your role, what you need to do with this earth. They play the role because we still need this.
Sure.
To have the duality and polarity that we came here to experience. Yeah. So when we go into that special place, we will understand that we are really resonating. We don't see judgments. We don't see any difference. We don't see anything that's wrong around that space. Yeah. And then automatically you see that you are synchronized. You go into this beautiful bubble of light that's around you. And it kind of keep you in this very nice, beautiful space where you will make very much vital and beautiful decisions without based on fear. When there's no fear, when you're making a decision without any fear, that means you're very much in a balanced state. That means nothing's interrupting you. You can step back and think about it and make a decision and walk in. And that gentleman, after all our sessions that we finished with, I found that even this was no longer a factor for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer, because the world is going through a reset and a processing. And it's the truth. We are seeing a lot of truth right now, right? Like you know, 10 years ago, I never heard that kind of truth, but now I'm hearing it, right? I'm hearing it and I'm seeing it. Places where that was not, was completely, even, climate-wise, things has changed. The conditioning of our earth is changing. So everything's changing. So it's like when you are shifting from one home to another home, what happens? A lot of decluttering. You have to remove all the garbages. You have to throw all the garbages. You have to get things right. You have to make sure new things are there. It's so much of work, isn't it? That's what's happening right now. And we are just in part of the mumbo jumbo, So if we station ourselves and we believe and trust, it's all for a better journey. And we stay still by our heart in life with our decisions, I think we are good. We don't have to even move into any kind of emotion. So we don't have to, withdraw ourselves from anything, right? We can still play the game, what we are here for.
Yeah. And it's incredible to know, like, we have that choice. I think
Yeah.
you know, getting pulled up into the whirlwind, I'll never forget that image. It looks like of just everything falling apart. That's what it's felt like. If you get kind of caught in that tornado of all things that are going on, but being able to stay, it's like the eye in the center of a hurricane. You know, it's like that calmness that you can just kind of resonate in and be in that space. I don't know if you'd be up for it, Nirmala, but I'm gonna toss it out there. In all that you're saying and sharing, I feel like it would be very powerful if you could do a couple minute meditation to just help people feel what that center feels like. Because I've been there with you, I've walked there with you, and I think it would be really wonderful to wrap things up so everyone can kind of get into that centered space.
Okay, all right. Yes, we can do a meditation, a quick one, just to walk into that space. Just let me finish with this gentleman now. I didn't finish. So what happens at the end of the session, after the few sessions that we did, is that I started seeing this beautiful kaleidoscope that was coming through him. And I knew something beautiful, and all the geometry started connecting in that space. And the binary was flowing so beautifully. It was resonating with it so well. For 9 years, he didn't have a good relationship with anyone, or having a partner was a problem. And finally, he found his other half, you know, and he got married to him, and then things were beautifully unfolded. So when things happen in that way, when you open up your heart and you allow the light without any judgments, when I say no judgments, means we step away from a lot of things, like you know, how we are very much controlled, the pattern that this is how we're supposed to think. You know, the other side is always ugly, our side is always fantastic, or our side is ugly, the other side is fantastic. Don't allow this ego state to exist within you. Okay, so but his life, I'm very proud to say that he's done very well, and if he's listening to it, he will know, you know. So but it was amazing to watch somebody, because every time when I watch someone who progressed through life and then walk through that, and understanding that they are in a beautiful field right now, it expands my heart, you know, my horizons of thinking. And yeah, sometimes, you know, even though in this kind of line of work, I doubt a lot of things as well. You know, we are humans. Yeah, even with I have my own arguments with my geometry, the way I see it. And then I doubt it sometimes, and they come and I have my own interaction with my geometries most of the time. It's like how humans talk to each other. I talk to them. You don't want to know the kind of things that I do with them. Okay, so we are done with that. All right. So we mentioned about having a small little meditation. I just trying to see.
I know I threw that at you. So as you're kind of thinking about that, I'll just add this: the transformation that he went through. You're capable. Everyone is capable of having that kind of transformation and allowing everything to just unfold and flow in their life. But I think it's the realization that it's an internal shift. I think a lot of times in life, I have found myself and others seeking the answers externally, or trying to shift and change and control the external world. And it's like, you're never going to get there. You could spend your whole lifetime doing it. But if you just pause and you look inside and you get that flowing correctly, it's just like what you just shared is so beautiful. And it's so exciting, because it's like, that can be yours. Like, that can be everyone's experience. And that's, I believe, why we're here.
Yeah, you own it. You own it. So that's you. You own it. All right. So you can be so truthful to yourself in that space that you don't even have to say, you don't have to manipulate, you don't have to lie, you can be so honest in that space. Yep. You can be so honest, right? So in saying that, how many times we have seen people just fell over and get trapped in between the two worlds, being the individual to show that this is the type of individual I am on the base on ego, and to show the environment or surrounding, this is what they are. You know, they go into this, you know, it's very sad to watch, you know, they tie themselves into this aspect that a lie becomes a truth about them. And then they flush away beautiful energies that's meant to be with them because of what they become, right? So we've seen that so many times. So it's about time for us to learn that we are as complete as we are. All right. All right, let's start with the, do a quick meditation. I won't take too much of time because I know of our timing. I know that we don't have control over the timing at the moment, Danielle, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay. All right. Now, everyone who's listening in, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for all of you for joining me. And if you can, all of you go into a silent space, make sure there's no interruptions. Just switch off your mobile phone just for a few minutes. So all of us collectively can do this together. All right. Now, sitting in a quiet space, uninterrupted. I want all of you to now to go into your breathing, your beautiful breathing space, your beautiful breath. Move into your breath and slowly and beautifully flow out of your breath. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Bring your complete awareness to the top of your head, the crown, right at the top, just 1 inch above your head. I want you to now feel an energy field above you from the universe, beautiful white light coming through from the universe towards this crown. Feel this energy moving around you, now slowly touching the crown, the lotus, and flowing from your head down all around your face to your neck, and beautifully aligning in the center of your heart, right in between your chest. Allow this light to center itself as if you're drawing a line from right to left chest and drawing a line from your throat to your sternum, to your tongue, and that middle point. You see a glowing white light that's expanding slowly and slowly, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this beautiful white light is just expanding on its own. As you can feel that it's expanded up to your shoulders now. Expanding even bigger. As if it's taken your full body into a golden white light. Feel the energy all around you. As you are now centered and you are sending this vibration everywhere and expanding it even further from you to the room you're sitting in. And the light is even expanding now to your whole house. Expanding out of the house. The whole suburb that you are living in. And going even bigger. To everyone, every single people, individual. You're shining this light. To your country. And it's expanding even further as you all are now connected. Just like the tetrahedron I drew up earlier, all of you are now coming to the midpoint of meeting in the middle of the earth, as all your lights are now coming together as a whirlwind. Allow the expansion of beauty, of harmony and love. Allow the bliss. You are now vibrating in the highest frequency. And I can see a beautiful golden triangle in your center, wherever you've placed your heart, wherever you've placed the center in this earth. You are all connected. And a beautiful triangle, a beautiful dodecahedron is in the process of expansion now. And this is the energy that you have contributed through this meditation. Focus on this dodecahedron, the triangle, and see the harmony of kaleidoscope flowing through in this space. The beauty, the amazing energy, and the feeling that you are just feeling right now. Bring it into this pyramid. You are sharing this with the whole world. You are consciousness. You are the collective consciousness. We are no different to one another. We are a light being. We are here for our human experience. Understanding that. Hold the space. The whole world is in a rainbows of colors now. Beautiful. I want you now to slowly come back to your breath. Resonate with the new breath you've brought in, the new self you've brought in about you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nirmala. Well, everyone, never forget the single truth. You are more than your thoughts. And this secret, once you know, will unlock everything for you. Nirmala and I want to welcome you to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. And we're grateful that you tuned in. Just remember to like the video, subscribe, and click for notifications so that you can come on and continue to expand yourself and the awareness you have. Have a beautiful day, everyone.